Hey, all right, week five. We are well into the semester. So we had our test last week, so I haven't recorded one of those since I've viewed those exams. Now, overall, they were not bad. I think the average was like a mid to high 70, which is solid for an online college class. Having said that, I know you don't give a rip about what the class average was. The only grade that affects you is how you did. So let's talk about that real quick. A couple things you can ask yourself, and then some things you can ask me too. Number one, are you watching the lecture videos? I know I stressed that at the beginning of the semester. I'm telling you to do it every week. But seriously, if you are not watching the lecture videos, if you're just trying to read the PowerPoint or look at the study guide or something like that, you're not getting the whole picture. The whole reason you take a college class is to have someone sort of explain the material and walk you through it. So that's what those lecture videos do. So just number one, are you doing that? And you don't have to tell me, just ask yourself. It doesn't matter if you're not doing that and you tricked me, I'm really easy to trick. That's not a big accomplishment, but just don't trick yourself. Like if you're saying, I don't know what I could do different, but you're not watching the lecture videos, that's one thing I would really recommend. Number two is, how long before the test did you start studying? Some people can get away with looking over the exam material like the night before the test and then blowing it out of the water and getting an A. And if you can do that, congrats, good for you. But if that didn't work for you, don't try it again. What I would really recommend is, as soon as you watch the lecture video, as soon as you cover one of those chapters, go ahead and pull out your study guide and start looking over that chapter that you just covered. And that way you can start making your notes. That way when the test comes in, you've already done your studying and you're just kind of reviewing everything. So those are two things I would do. Just kind of ask yourself, am I watching the lecture videos and am I waiting too late to start studying? The good news is that our next exam is like in 2 weeks from now. So what you can do is make that change. You can start watching lecture videos. It's just 3 chapters. And then you can study a little bit each week and don't wait until the last second and see how that works for you. Just another heads up, I would really recommend that you do that no matter what, because the second exam, now it's not terrible. Like students do really well on it all the time. But when at the end of the semester, I'll look at grades for every single exam. And for whatever reason, exam 2 is usually a little bit lower than the other ones. It means it can be a little bit tougher. So don't slack on this one is what I'm saying. I would really try out new ways to study and see if you can improve your grade, because what I've noticed is that if you do the same thing or if you slack off a little bit, grades can go down a little on the second exam. All right. Okay. So this week I would watch the chapter 4 lecture video. This one is on cell structure and function. So we're going to talk about cells just in general. And then we're going to talk about prokaryotes, which are cells that don't have a nucleus, things like bacteria. And then we're going to look at eukaryotes, which are cells that do have a nucleus, things like plant cells and animal cells. We'll talk a little bit about each of those cell parts and what they do to all of the organelles that are inside the cell. So watch that. Let me know if you have any questions after you're done watching it. I think I've mentioned this before, but I would watch the video, have your PowerPoints, take notes, and then if there's something that's not clear, if you watch the section and you're like, I don't really get that, write your question out, and as soon as you're done watching the video, send me a Blackboard message and I can get back with you and try to explain it a little better. All right. The chapter 4 review quiz is due this Sunday, so just after you watch the lecture videos, you can take the review quiz. And remember, you can use your notes during the quizzes. That's okay. You just can't do it for the test. All right. And then lastly, we've got our third lab exam. So this is probably the last time I'll say it, because at this point, you need to have your lab kit and you need to be doing the labs. But they really do help. I was talking with someone earlier who was kind of discouraged that they weren't doing as well as they wanted to on the exams. And I was giving them tips on here's how you can improve your exam grade. But then I said, make sure you realize that the labs really help too. 20% of your final grade is coming from the labs, a little bit more than that. So I grade them for accuracy. Like, you have to put the right answers in there. But the thing is, if you follow the instructions, most students are getting 80 or 90% of those labs. At the end of the semester, that helps you out a ton. So I know I keep stressing, for students who are not turning their labs in, you've got to get that turned in. And I know that's got to get annoying. But the big thing is, you need those points at the end of the semester. Those are there to help you. And also, the honest answer is, this is a 4-hour lab class, so you have to do labs. If not, this class doesn't count. All right. Okay, so this week's lab is on cells, prokaryotic and eukaryotic. It's going to go along really well with the lecture video this week. So I would really recommend to watch the video first and then do the lab. The good news is you don't have to provide any equipment for this lab. So all you have to do is log in. I don't even think there's anything with your lab kit that's involved. You just do this one completely on the computer. So it's going to have some background information about the cells. It'll be a good review of what the lecture was on. And then there's a few things. It's going to ask you a bunch of questions that you got to think through and type out your answers. But the main activities are you're going to have big pictures of a plant cell and an animal cell and a bacteria cell, and you're going to have to identify the different cell parts and talk about like where you can find them and are they in prokaryotic cells or are they in eukaryotic cells. The last thing, now when you're talking about cells, we got to do microscopes. The lab kit did not come with a microscope. It would cost like significantly more if you got a free microscope with your lab kit. So the way we treat that in these is you're going to have a bunch of slides, microscopic slides of different cell types. After you've done the introduction, after we've learned what the cell parts are, you're going to label those slides. So what you'll do is it'll pull up the picture, you'll click on a structure, and then you'll type in the name of that structure. So you're going to have to label several parts in this lab too. All right, so that's it for this week. If you got any questions or if I can help, please let me know.